Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm taking to the Great League, where a trainer who has already hit Legend is running one of the most absurd Pokemon possible at Leaderboard Elo, and still managing to get some wins against elite competition. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Marcy, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Marcy is running a pretty standard duo of Shadow Jumpluff plus Gastrodon, but the third is the kicker. It's a 2020 Sunglasses level 50 Slowpoke. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's see if Slowpoke can get some wins in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up an amazing lead, Shadow Jumpluff into Florges. With Florges typically on the Trailblaze Chilling Water moveset, Florges would actually be walled here, and it appears they are walled. That is really unfortunate for the opponent, but if you're trying to get wins with Slowpoke, this is basically the best possible lead matchup you could ask for, as Jumpluff will be able to have a dominant lead win and hopefully set up Slowpoke for success in the back. Nice overfarm by the Jumpluff, going for the Energy Ball. Opponent is going to make a catch of the Energy Ball onto Empoleon. Empoleon gets debuffed, and out comes Gastrodon. Gastrodon going to look for a no shield farm down. Hydro Cannon will do a solid amount of damage, but Gastrodon hangs on. Gastrodon does exit with quite a bit of energy. Back in comes the Florges, and Gastrodon will immediately fire off the Water Pulse to guarantee the shield. Florges will look to overfarm quite a bit. Florges will be able to boost itself up with the double super effective Trailblaze, and suddenly Chilling Water will be a little bit more threatening to the Jumpluff. More threatening, but still not threatening enough to force a shield. The Chilling Water is going to be no shielded. Jumpluff, can it get a farm down? No, it cannot. Florges hangs on with very low HP. So now this is a double debuff to Jumpluff. In comes Slowpoke. In the back is Feraligatr. The Shadow Claw is hitting for super effective damage, but thanks to Slowpoke's typing, the Hydro Cannons are going to be resisted. Opponent no shields a Psyshock, and Slowpoke is going to be able to take this win. Hydro Cannon lands, Slowpoke hangs on. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Slowpoke Confusion downs Florges, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, and oh, that's a terrible lead. Shadow Jumpluff into Shadow Talonflame. One Fairy Wind, and out comes Slowpoke. Slowpoke, unfortunately, going to be answered with Furret, and this is not what Slowpoke was hoping to see. Slowpoke will fire off the Psyshock. Furret doesn't know what Slowpoke has and puts up the shield. That can be a genuine, really big advantage to running weird Pokemon. People don't know what a Slowpoke is or what it has, so they shield moves that they do not have to. Furret exits boosted, and boosted Swifts are going to do a lot of damage to the Shadow Jumpluff. Jumpluff will be able to lock in some damage with the Shadow Aerial Ace, but Aerial Ace will not be enough to pick up the knockout. Now it's time for Furret's revenge. Boosted Swift, immediately followed by a second Boosted Swift, and this Shadow Jumpluff is going to be deep into the red HP. It's all up to Gastrodon. Gastrodon hitting the field, getting an energy head start, and it's going to need it as the final Pokemon is revealed to be Galarian Corsola. The thing to keep in mind is the opponent was able to preserve that Furret. The Furret is very low, but it is a potential catch opportunity for the opponent later in the match. All shields were saved for this exact moment. Gastrodon shielding up the Nightshade, gonna overfarm, and play to the CMP tie, denying Corsola's energy. Corsola has to shield if they want the move, and they do not. They're gonna be no shielding, and in comes Shadow Talonflame. Shadow Talonflame fires off energy, 2 free turns to the Gastrodon. Flame Charge, they're gonna try and farm down. Gastrodon is one off the back-to-back body slams. First body slam is going to be no shielded. What a call from the opponent. And Gastrodon is going to fire off body slam number 2. Jumpluff is pretty close to a move. Opponent anticipates the snipe, but the snipe does not go through. Talonflame's fly will take the knockout. In comes the Jumpluff. The Jumpluff didn't have a move. I thought Jumpluff was 1 off, and apparently so did the opponent. They tried to anticipate it. Jumpluff was actually 2 off the move, and that cost them the game. Oh, that is such an unfortunate miscount for the opponent. We've got a battle of shadows in the next match. Shadow Jumpluff into Shadow Mightyena. Mightyena will be able to hit for big super effective damage with Poison Fang, and Jumpluff chooses not to respect it. This is gonna hurt. Poison Fang lands. Jumpluff gonna farm up past the Energy Ball and go for an Aerial Ace bait. Shadow Mightyena is very frail, but Mightyena calls the bait. Jumpluff's getting low. There's a quick switch into Gastrodon to snipe down the Mightyena. Mightyena sends out Wigglytuff, so this looks like it's the Mightyena, Wigglytuff, and Steelix team. Steelix in the back would be a very big issue once Gastrodon is gone, and the opponent knows it. They're going to be shielding up the Wigglytuff. Gastrodon Gonna be met with a charge attack from the Wigglytuff. Immediate no shield. Swift takes the knockout. And if it's Steelix, Steelix is about to sweep. In comes the Slowpoke. I guess maybe if Slowpoke can land enough water pulses, maybe this is possible. But it still seems like a really uphill fight. The shield comes out from the Slowpoke. Wigglytuff is gonna make another Swift. No, Wigglytuff too spammy with the charm rework. In the back, wait. That is not a Steelix. I was so afraid it was a Steelix, but this is a Gastrodon. With Gastrodon as the final Pokemon, this actually seems like a winnable game. Slowpoke now going to go for the Water Pulse. Water Pulse lands. In comes the Jumpluff trying to go for the Snipe, but the opponent says no with a well-timed Body Slam. Slowpoke's going to have to farm everything down. Down goes the Gastrodon. All that's left is the Wigglytuff in the back. I was seeing ghosts of Steelix. Luckily, it was not there, as that would have been catastrophic. Great lead in the next match. Jumpluff into Annihilate. Opponent safe switches into Diggersby, and out comes Gastrodon. Gastrodon is the only Pokemon that Annihilate would even have a chance of a neutral matchup against, because even if the opponent plays for Switch, they're going to have Annihilate on a Slowpoke, and I don't think they're going to like that confusion damage. Second Scorching Sands is going to land. Gastrodon now very, very low. Gastrodon Water Pulse will not knock out. Diggersby hoping for a farm down that it will not get. Gastrodon gets the Body Slam. Body Slam takes the knockout, and switch advantage is preserved. Back in comes the Annihilate in the back. Opponent has the Dene, and this could be a problem. Shadow Jumpluff going for the Energy Ball, needing this damage to land, but Dene says no. Baiting out the Gastrodon by the opponent pays massive dividends, as now they can look to ramp up with Parabolic Charge. So now they're at +1. A bait comes out from the Jumpluff. Jumpluff anticipating a double shield from the opponent and anticipating correctly. That's going to give Jumpluff a little bit of extra energy to work with, but is it going to be enough? This is now a +2 to Dene. Shadow Energy Ball does hit pretty hard, but with the double defense boost, Dene is able to hang on very comfortably. It looks like this game is going to come down to Slowpoke having to try and confusion down a Dene and then Psyshock Annihilate. In comes the Slowpoke. These confusions not doing much. This Dene has boosted so much. Slowpoke will put up the shield. Slowpoke just continuing to farm. No, not going to risk it. The opponent had buffed up their defense so much, the confusions were doing so little, that Slowpoke will just take the KO. In comes Annihilate. Annihilate gets the Rage Fist. Can Slowpoke hang on? Come on, Slowpoke. Rage Fist lands. Slowpoke survives. I was not confident Slowpoke was hanging on there, but the 2020 Sunglasses Slowpoke takes down Annihilate, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Jumpluff into a non-Shadow Jumpluff. Will the opponent be on Acrobatics? If they're on Acrobatics, it would not one-shot, but it would do some pretty severe damage. The Shadow Jumpluff does win Charge Attack priority, so the opponent must have a very high rank. Aerial Ace no shielded by the opponent. Shadow Jumpluff no shielding right back, and it is just going to be an Aerial Ace. So in this matchup, trading Aerial Aces honestly works out quite nicely, as 2 Aerial Aces will barely miss the KO. So the Shadow is able to hang on, farming up very close to the back-to-back Aerial Aces, as it looks like a 3rd Aerial Ace will be needed to win the zeros. Opponent does not go for a catch. Instead, they're just going to go for Charge Attack priority, which they do not win. They're just going to let themselves get knocked out and go for farm. In comes Diggersby, immediate safe switch to the Slowpoke. Slowpoke trying to get to the Water Pulse, but Diggersby will outpace by 1 turn. The shield comes up from the Slowpoke. Slowpoke will continue the farm. Farming up to the back-to-back Psyshocks, but will look to connect with the super effective Water Pulse. Water Pulse is going to land. That's nice damage for the Slowpoke, and now Slowpoke will let the Scorching Sands through. Scorching Sands lands, honestly doing less damage than I expected. Slowpoke, oh my goodness, the catch onto Jumpluff. Slowpoke able to preserve the little HP it has left with a devastating catch. Out comes Typhlosion, and unfortunately for Typhlosion, in comes Gastrodon. Opponent for a second there had hope, but that hope was immediately dashed. We move to the next match, Jumpluff into Florges once again. We've seen how dominant of a matchup this is. Opponent safe switches into Charjabug, and Charjabug will be answered with Gastrodon. Gastrodon does handle this matchup very, very nicely. Charjabug goes for the X-Scissor, and Gastrodon will fire off the Water Pulse. Water Pulse will not knock out, but it's going to do some pretty nice damage to the Charjabug. The Charjabug puts up the shield. Charjabug does have a pretty nice piecing advantage in this matchup. Charjabug's X-Scissor will grab a shield from the Gastrodon. Gastrodon just going to look to take the knockout as a Body Slam would be insufficient damage. The Water Pulse does get double shielded. Opponent really wants switch advantage. Gastrodon has to decide, is it worth trying to play for it? And Gastrodon says no. Just going to look for a massive farm with Jumpluff and hope that Jumpluff is a core breaker to the opponent's team. As Slowpoke will not be a big fan of Trailblazes coming out from the Florges. So Jumpluff gets a huge head start. Oh no, it's Talonflame. Out comes the Slowpoke, answered by the Florges. The good news is the Slowpoke will be able to get this Psyshock damage down early, and that does a lot to the Florges. Florges now has to decide, Chilling Water or Trailblaze. The immediate no shield calling the Chilling Water. That's a stone cold bait call, and now Slowpoke is looking to sweep. Slowpoke puts up the shield. Florges now going for the Trailblaze, but it's too little too late. They get fully farmed down. Bring back in that Talonflame. Slowpoke firing off the Water Pulse. This is a debuffed Water Pulse. Still does some pretty nice damage, getting to Water Pulse number 2. Talonflame may have expected many things in the Go Battle League today, but I do not think Slowpoke was on that list. Tough lead in the next match, Shadow Jumpluff into Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff's Icy Wind will be a massive issue for the Jumpluff, but Jumpluff will still have the pacing advantage. Energy Ball won't knock out, but it will do a solid amount of damage, so Wigglytuff puts up the shield, and there's a catch and sneak onto the Gastrodon. Switch locking a Gastrodon, always a worry in an Altaria meta, but so far the opponent has not switched out. They're staying in. Out comes Galarian Corsola. Galarian Corsola already tanks Water Pulse very comfortably, so the fact that it's a -1 Water Pulse, that's not going to be doing much of anything. So this is a massive opportunity for the opponent. They banked energy on the Wigglytuff. Corsola gets a full farm down. This is quite scary. In comes the Jumpluff. Jumpluff is forced to switch in because you just cannot concede that farm down, but Power Gem is devastating damage, and unfortunately the Jumpluff gets outpaced. Jumpluff forced to put up the shield, and it feels like everything is going wrong. Jumpluff, Aerial Ace will be able to knock out the Corsola, but there's still a big problem, and its name is Wigglytuff. Opponent reveals their final Pokemon, and it's a Water Gun Lantern. And Water Gun Lantern, it's just too bulky and should even just probably be able to go straight Surf and win this game, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Going for the Surf, Slowpoke puts up the shield. Slowpoke just farming as much as it possibly can, but it cannot Confusion the Lantern into Psyshock range. This is where the bulk of the Lantern is just such a big problem. Lantern still has the shield to hide behind as well, so Lantern will be able to put up the shield. Oh, the turn wait! Slowpoke doing everything that it can, waiting a few turns, catching the Surf. Is Slowpoke back in it? In comes the Wigglytuff, and unfortunately Wigglytuff is going to get to land this Swift. The opponent actually decides to go for the Icy Wind, hoping that Icy Wind means that a Water Pulse will now not knock out. Slowpoke fires off the Water Pulse. It won't pick up the KO. Slowpoke, oh, can't get the farm down. The new pacing on Wigglytuff, too much for the Slowpoke, and unfortunately this team will suffer its loss. Unfortunately, things are not getting easier in the next match, leading Shadow Jumpluff into a Shadow Drifblim. Drifblim beats this entire team, so this, unfortunately, is probably just a guaranteed auto loss. As Drifblim, it's not going to take a ton of damage from the Aerial Ace. They actually do respect the acrobatics. There's an Icy Wind catch attempt onto Gastrodon, but anytime you're switching Gastrodon into a Drifblim, you know something is very seriously wrong. Drifblim goes for the Icy Wind. Drifblim, it looks like, catches out and catches the Water Pulse onto a Azumarill. And man, things could not be going much worse than they are now. Azumarill just an absolute wall to the energy from this Gastrodon. Gastrodon will fire off the Body Slam, but Azumarill can just fully bubble down. These are -1 Body Slams. They're going to basically do nothing. Gastrodon is going to bank a Water Pulse for later and send in the Slowpoke. Slowpoke does get a Confusion through as Azumarill will go for an Ice Beam. Ice Beam is a bit of a surprise. Back in comes the Drifblim. Drifblim has high incentive to go for a bait here, and they will. Icy Wind bait, definitely unfortunate for the Slowpoke. Slowpoke able to get to the back-to-back Psyshocks. These Psyshocks are one stage debuffed. Will it be enough to take the knockout? Slowpoke really has to hope that answer is yes. Psyshock into the Drifblim. It lands, but Drifblim hangs on 1 HP. Drifblim makes it to the Icy Wind, and they're going to undercharge. In the back is Blastoise. This game somehow might actually be winnable. Jumpluff farming up an absolutely massive amount of energy. Blastoise has farmed up a ton of energy as well. Energy Ball connects. There's the switch into the Gastrodon, but the opponent makes a beautiful prediction, and they get the catch onto Azumarill. Azumarill is going to let itself get as low as possible. In comes the Azumarill, and unfortunately, the Azumarill has the Ice Beam, and Blastoise will be winning Charge Attack priority over this Jumpluff. In comes the Blastoise, and there it is. For leading this team into a Drifblim, that game got way closer than it ever should have been, but unfortunately it will still end in defeat. Hopping to the final match, leading Shadow Jumpluff into Charjabug. Charjabug going to be able to output some pretty solid neutral damage with X-Scissor in this matchup, and the buff to Volt Switch definitely does help. Jumpluff absolutely missing acrobatics in this matchup, will be forced to settle for the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, not a great move. It's going to land, and man, Charjabug tanks that very comfortably. In comes Gastrodon. Gastrodon farming up a ton of energy, and a mistime from the opponent as they give an entire free Mud Slap to the Gastrodon. Out comes Annihilate. Annihilate going to take some pretty substantial damage from the Water Pulse. Will they decide to put up the shield? Annihilate says yes. Gastrodon will make another Water Pulse if they try and farm down. Opponent knows it, so they're going to fire off the Rage Fist to deny that energy. You go for a Confusion down with the Slowpoke or go for energy on the Jumpluff. It's going to be the Slowpoke hitting the field. Slowpoke, a one shield farm down, will get the Slowpoke a pretty nice energy head start. The Rage Fist does get shielded. Annihilate's just getting fully farmed, and it wasn't even able to do a lot of counter damage. In comes Charjabug. The Volt Switch goes through, as Slowpoke will look to threaten damage with the Psyshock. There's the switch into the Jumpluff, saving that Slowpoke for later. Jumpluff will hang on as the opponent did go for the discharge. In the back is Diggersby. Diggersby, oh, did they play to the CMP tie? Oh no. Energy Ball is going to land. It is a CMP tie, and that's absolutely going to sink them. Fire Punch will take the knockout, but now it's the Slowpoke show. Slowpoke will be able to take the knockout with the Water Pulse, and then the opponent, they still have that Charjabug, but Charjabug does not have the energy that it needs. In comes the Charjabug. Charjabug going to get Confusion down by Slowpoke, and that's a good game. All in all, these were some very fun battles, so many thanks to Marcy for sending them in. When I opened my battle submission form today, I was expecting many things, but a Sunglasses Slowpoke was definitely not on that list. But hey, these battles ended up being very fun. Now, it goes without saying, we do post quite a few teams that are recommended climbing teams. This is not a recommended climbing team by any means. This is a trainer who's already hit Legend and is just looking to have some fun, run some absolute shenanigans, and whether they win or lose along the way, the goal is just to have fun. So this is definitely not a recommended climbing team whatsoever, but man, it was really fun to see Slowpoke clutch out some very narrow wins. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.